if you have finally hit that breaking point in your relationship and you know that you are ready to break the trauma bond for good this time, but you don't know where to start, this episode is going to tell you exactly what to do next. There's a really important moment that happens when you have been wrung through the trauma bond ringer that not enough people are talking about. And it is this moment where you realize that the preoccupation that you've had with the person has robbed you of too many moments that you have missed with your friends or your kids. You realize that the confusion that you have been living in has literally swallowed entire nights of restful sleep. And you find yourself at this rock bottom, knowing that you absolutely cannot go back. And this is the moment that I call the fuck this shift. It is a very clear shift where you're like, fuck this. You're no longer trying to love him harder, to try to convince him of why you're lovable or to love you. You're no longer trying to make him see it. You've actually literally decided that I am done. I am done living in survival mode. I am done abandoning myself. I have to choose something different. But now it feels like you are stranded in the middle of the ocean and you've told the only boat in the foreseeable area that it can leave. And you have no idea how to get yourself back to solid land. So today we are talking about that, about what happens after you've had this fuck this shift. It's my intention from this episode that you leave today with a clear understanding of why healing from narcissistic relationships feels really confusing, even though you might have tried all of the right, quote unquote, things, to learn what is actually keeping you stuck from fully healing from this trauma bond with your narcissistic ex, and to discover what the missing piece is that is needed in order to help you feel safe enough to finally let go and get out of this trauma bond that you want so desperately to let go and get out of. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And remember to stick around to the end of the episode. I always pull an oracle card where you can just take that message as another thing to focus on in your healing this week. So take a deep breath and let's begin. This is where things get really honest because you have spent a lot of time in this trauma bond with the focus being on your partner, your ex-partner. And you have spent a lot of energy in that place of anxiety and panic and fear regarding things that he is or isn't doing. And now that you've had this fuck this shift, that fear feels different, right? You're not scared of him anymore or what he's doing or what his choices are. What you're scared of now is, where the hell do you start trying to heal from a narcissistic relationship? And maybe you've had attempts at therapy or coaching or reading the self-help books or doing something in the past that hasn't worked. And so there's a fear that, well, is there anything that's actually going to work to help me break this trauma bond and heal from it? And maybe you're even afraid now of what life is going to look like now that you've made the decision that you actually can't go back, that you're actually alone and have to spend this time focusing on you. When you make that fuck this shift, you are moving energy from him to you. And when you aren't focusing on that other person, that has almost become like a second job. All of the preoccupation and the walking on eggshells and the hypervigilance, that takes up a lot of time. So now that you are letting that go and know that you have to make this shift, it's creating a lot of space for you to be with your thoughts and the confusion and perhaps the injustice of everything that just happened. And that feels uncomfortable. It's also unfamiliar to have this much space and time to redirect that energy back to yourself. I just shared this in the podcast episode right before this one of the day that I actually broke up with my narcissistic ex. It's so vivid. I remember this so vividly in my body. It was 5 years ago, and I was on the phone with two friends in between work meetings saying, I know I need to leave. Please hold me accountable to this. And then calling them back after a meeting. I've been sobbing, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'm too afraid. Maybe it'll work. Maybe we can work this out. And like literally 8 hours of this struggle. And one of my friends said to me, Bre, you're in pain with either decision. One decision to stay with him is guaranteed long-term pain. One decision to leave is guaranteed short-term pain, but with relief at the other end. And it was in that moment where I had my fuck this shift, where I like everything aligned into clarity for me in that sentence that she said, where I was like, oh shit, I cannot consciously choose this forever pain now that I see it this way. Now that I see the person that he is, I see the dynamic that we have, I see what he's capable of. I cannot go back there. And it was a humbling moment. It was a terrifying moment. I was like saying the words to him that it was over, like, don't come back here, was the hardest thing I have ever said in my life. And I don't put that lightly. Like I was shaking. I remember sweating and shaking. My voice was cracking. I was terrified. I was terrified of doing it, but I knew that I had to. I knew that this had to be the moment where I used this strength to get through this conversation. And what happened shortly thereafter, there was a lot of conflicting emotions. Like there was some relief, there was some immediate crying of just like, oh my God, this feels too big to even figure out. And I remember not knowing how to start. Like it felt like I was trying to put this puzzle together, and then all of a sudden I just flipped the puzzle and pieces were everywhere. And I was like, I don't even know how to begin to pick up these pieces and put this thing back together. Like so overwhelmed. So I really get it. If you're feeling that overwhelm and that I don't know where to go, I don't know what's going to work, but I know I need to do this. Like, girl, I feel you on such a deep level. And I have a lot of clients who come through a free intro session with me. And I had one client that has been in the program for a little while now. And on her intro session, I remember her saying, I know this is going to be a lot of work, and I know this is going to be really hard, and I am really scared. And I have to trust that working with you is going to be better than where I am now. And that really stuck with me because the importance of moving through the moment and of choosing the work was so clear to her because she knew that she couldn't go back. Because what happens if you don't capitalize on that moment? For her, she knew if she didn't choose to trust, that she could trust me and trust the work and trust herself, then she knew that she was going to continue to be in this preoccupation place, focusing on him all day, making more mistakes at work, and then not being able to sleep at night because she was ruminating over XYZ conversation, and then she'd be waking up exhausted the next day and back in the same cycle. She knew that he was going to continue to stay like that priority in her brain, and she wasn't going to be able to be present in work or with her kids or with herself. It was so consuming that it was taking all of these moments away from her in her life. And she was like going between feeling overwhelmed and disconnected and numbing out, watching herself slowly become this person that was isolated, that was embarrassed, that was wanting to just come home after work and like binge watch a TV show while she numbed out with ice cream and just like doing anything that she could do to try to get away from the aloneness and the emptiness and the pain that she was feeling. So it was clear that she had to do it. She was at the rock bottom place of, I can't knowingly choose this option anymore, and I have to keep myself accountable to do the work, to get myself out of this survival mode. And what she did shortly thereafter was buy the books on Amazon, right? She had a stack of books she wanted to read about how to heal from narcissistic abuse or toxic relationships, how to find yourself again. She had saved all of these podcast episodes about how to heal and what to do. And she even was going to talk therapy. She felt really committed. She's like, I'm doing the things that are going to help me move through this. And a few months went by and she felt like she was still feeling a lot of emotions in like really big ways that she shouldn't, quote unquote, be feeling, like almost like tidal waves. And things still felt really confusing. She was feeling a lot of self-judgment, like I should be further along than this. She still felt really out of control, of like, I feel consumed by these emotions. I don't understand them. And you might be in that place too, where you have decided you needed to leave the bond, have started trying some stuff, feeling like it's not working. You're afraid that nothing's going to work. And the truth that I want to share, and what I did share with this woman that became a client of mine, is that doing these things in terms of learning about narcissism or reading the books or just ingesting this information about these types of relationships, I know it's coming from a good place and it feels satisfactory when you're doing it because it feels like you're doing something, and it keeps you on the surface of your healing. If you think about the books and the podcasts and even talk therapy, right, where you're just sort of like running through all of the things that were wrong in the relationship, you're never getting into the feeling of things, it keeps you on the surface. And if you think about that, like holding on to a lifesaver, is that what they throw to you when you are drowning? like a floating device? Think about the books and the podcasts as a floating device. And you're trying to just keep your head above water, but it's not actually helping you process the things that you need to in order to like get out of the water. Trying to heal from these types of relationships, it brings up a lot. It brings up grief and rage and sadness and anger and hopelessness and helplessness and injustice and so many feelings that maybe you are not used to feeling. And on some level in your body is like, we don't know how to do that. That's not a safe place to go. And like staying in the mind, staying in the analyzing and the understanding feels safer. So when you try to touch on something, or when you read something in a book that resonates, or when something happens in therapy that actually touches on something painful, you can have this experience of dissociating, of shutting down, of panicking, of stopping, right? It's like your body's like, nope, we are not going there. That's not safe. And your body is sending a signal to your brain, like, we need to shut this down, okay? And it doesn't matter how much you want it. It doesn't matter how much your brain tries to tell your body that you're safe and we can do this. If your body feels dysregulated, it wins. It wins that fight. And this is a lot of, what's happening subconsciously. So back to the water metaphor. If you are on the surface of the water and you are drowning and you're trying to cling to this life raft, lifesaver, whatever it is, what you need is not to try harder to hold on. What you need is actually the right tool to help you go underneath the surface, to help you go into the depths, to really unpack and feel and process what happened. And in order to go underwater, what do we need? We need an oxygen mask. We need something to help us breathe underwater so that we feel safe as we go down. And the oxygen mask, in the way that I work with clients, the oxygen mask is a tool called EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a technique that we use to regulate the nervous system while we're bringing up feelings that feel really uncomfortable to feel. So you are signaling to your body through the body that you're safe while you are bringing forward things that feel really uncomfortable to feel so that you can actually be with them, understand them, process them, feel them, move them in a way that your body is not going to fight because your body feels safe. So that's why if you've been trying these other things in the talking and the understanding lane, and it's not giving you results and you feel like you're still stuck in the emotion, or you're not able to get down into the real actual pain of the mindfuck that happened to you, that's likely what you need. You need a way to regulate your nervous system to allow you to go there. And that's why nervous system work is foundational in the way that I hold space for my clients. And I have experienced it and I have seen it in my clients when you have that tool, that can help your body feel safe, it gives you the freedom to explore with curiosity. And that's where we find healing, is through the curiosity, through the ability to hold space and allow whatever is coming up to be felt. The body relaxes. It doesn't have to constrict to hold you in this survival state that you have been literally been living in for months or years with this person. There is no way that you have made it through a trauma bonded relationship without living in survival, because the nature of the cycle with that person has put you in fear and stress and overwhelm and panic over and over and over again. You know how to be constricted. You know how to be hypervigilant. This work is helping you to untwist, what is the right visual I'm looking for here? Unspiral that energy. You've been really tightly wound. And this is going to help your nervous system be able to relax, your body to understand that you're safe in your environment, and you're safe to be able to process through these feelings. So if you're in this moment right now where you have felt the fuck this shift, you know you're at the rock bottom, you know you have to choose yourself, you know you have to do whatever it takes to not go back to this person, and you have tried the other things and they have not worked, this is the moment that defines everything. Because this is where you are being invited to trust that there is something that can take you to that next level where healing is possible versus staying on the surface. You don't need more books and podcasts and talking. You don't need more understanding about the problem. You know the problem. What you need is to be able to feel your way through the consequence of what happened, to feel your way through the wreckage. And to do that, you need the nervous system support that will allow you to go there. So if you're ready to go under the water with the right tools, to be held in safety and support and non-judgment, I am here. This is the way that I hold space for my clients because it works. So I invite you to go to the show notes. There is a link there to schedule a free intro session with me where I can learn more about your personal story, your personal struggle. And then if that is aligned with the work that I do for women, I will share with you what that would look like to work together. That session is free. The link is in the show notes. I invite you to take advantage of that and learn how you can do this differently so that you can actually feel the freedom from the trauma bond that has been imprisoning you for so much time. I'm so passionate about providing the structure and the guidance and the nervous system support that you need to actually let him go and leave this behind you without spiraling or second guessing or beating yourself up or going back. I know you've worked so hard to get to this moment of having this fuck this shift. And I really empower you to take this next step for you. So until I see you in that free session or I see you in the next episode, please, please, please remember that you are not alone.